I shoveled his driveway during the blizzard. 2 weeks later, he called the HOA on me for having a noisy snowblower. I asked him why. He said, "Didn't ask you to help." So I stopped helping and started recording. This happened last winter, in a small suburb outside of Dayton, Ohio. I live in a pretty quiet neighborhood. People mostly keep to themselves, which I'm fine with. I'm not trying to host block parties or anything, but I do believe in being a decent neighbor. If I see someone's trash can tipped over, I'll pick it up. If I notice a package sitting out too long, I'll knock and let them know. That kind of thing. So when the big blizzard hit in January, I didn't think twice about shoveling a few extra driveways. It snowed hard for almost 2 days, like over a foot and a half. The kind of snow where everything's silent and you can't even see the curb. The plows were running behind, and most people just stayed inside. I've got a heavy-duty snowblower. It's older, but it gets the job done. I was out there early, clearing my own drive around 6 a.m. I figured while I was already bundled up and out there, I'd do my immediate neighbors too. I did my neighbor to the right first, an older couple. They wave sometimes, and the guy helped me once when I had a flat tire, so I figured it was just returning the favor. Then I looked at the house 2 doors down, belonged to this guy I barely knew. Always saw him come and go. Rarely smiled. Never rude, just cold. But his driveway was buried. I figured maybe he was older or didn't have a snowblower. Or maybe just overwhelmed. So I did it. Took me about 25 extra minutes. Didn't ring his bell or say anything. I just cleared it and went back inside. That was the first time. It snowed again 2 days later. Same thing. I cleared mine, then did his. Then again the next week. This time, I saw him peek out the window. No, wait. No es my. Just stood there, watching. Still, I thought, hey, it's fine. I'm not doing it for praise. I kept clearing his drive for maybe 3 weeks total, every time it snowed. Then, about 2 weeks after the last storm, I got a letter from the HOA. It said they'd received a complaint about excessive early morning noise during snow removal. Specifically, a snowblower that starts before sunrise, causing disturbance. At first I laughed. I figured it had to be a mistake. I'd been doing this for years, and no one had ever said a word. Plus, half the block uses blowers. Mine's not the quietest, sure, but it's not a jet engine either. Then I saw the last line. Please refrain from disturbing adjacent properties during early hours. Adjacent. That word stuck out. So I went over and knocked on the door of the guy 2 houses down. He opened the door about halfway. Looked surprised. I just held up the letter. Hey, I said, did you happen to file this? He didn't even flinch. Just said, yeah, I did. I stared at him. Why? He shrugged. Didn't ask you to shovel my driveway. That's all he said. Okay, I said slowly. But I was just trying to help. He nodded like he didn't care. I didn't need help. There was a pause. I waited to see if he'd say anything else. He didn't. You could have just told me, I said. He shrugged again. I figured you'd take the hint. Then he closed the door. I stood there for a second, just processing. It wasn't even the complaint that bothered me. It was the tone. The way he made it seem like I'd done something wrong by helping. So I stopped. Completely. Next snowfall, I did my own driveway. Then I went inside. I watched him from my window. He came out around noon, dragging an old metal shovel. It took him almost 2 hours. I watched him huff and puff and stop every 10 minutes. And yeah, I won't lie, I felt a little satisfied. But that's not where it ends. Because after that, I started noticing little things, like how the HOA letters came more often. First, it was about my trash cans being visible from the street. They were behind the fence. Then it was about a non-standard mailbox. It's literally the same model as 3 other houses. Then about a loud vehicle leaving early in the morning. I leave for work at 6:30, same as I always have. That's when I started recording. I set up a camera facing my driveway and part of the street. I kept every letter. I documented dates, times, even sound levels on my phone app. Because it wasn't just annoying anymore. It was targeted. And something told me this guy wasn't done. It was around mid-February when things really started to shift. One morning I walked out to find my trash cans knocked over. Nothing huge, just looked like maybe wind. But the next week, same thing, except the lids were gone. Just gone. I checked around the block. Nothing. Nobody else's cans were touched. A few days after that, my mailbox door was hanging open, bent a little. Not enough to call the police over, but just enough to notice. Just enough to make me think. Then one night, I caught it on camera. It was about 11:40 p.m. He walked out from the side of his house in a hoodie, walked up to my cans, and flipped them over, deliberate, not rushed. Then just walked back the way he came. I sat there watching the footage, my jaw tight. I thought, okay, now I know. But I didn't do anything yet. I waited. Next snowfall, I shoveled my driveway. Not his, obviously. When I finished, I left the snowblower running a few minutes longer than I needed to. Just standing there, checking the oil, making it clear. The next day, another HOA letter. Noise complaint. Repeated violation of quiet hours. The letter said if it happened again, I'd be fined. I smiled because this time I had video. Clear timestamp, clear footage, snowblower decibels under legal limits. I printed it all, sent it to the HOA with a letter of my own. No response for 3 days. Then on day 4 I saw the guy again. Out in his yard, pretending to check something on his car. I walked up. Calm. Real calm. You want to keep this going? I asked. Because I've got footage of every complaint you've made. I've got your face tipping my cans over. He didn't say anything. You got a problem with me, say it. Don't go hiding behind the HOA. He looked right at me and said, you think you're the only one who can document things? I blinked. What's that supposed to mean? He smirked and turned back to his car. Careful with that, snowblower. And that's when it hit me, he wasn't just being petty. He was waiting for me to snap. Waiting for me to go too far. He wanted a reaction he could use. I walked back to my house and sat at the kitchen table for an hour, just thinking. The next day, I filed a formal complaint with the HOA, with footage, timestamps, and a record of every false report he'd filed. I thought it was over. But then I got a knock at my door at 6:15 a.m. the following Tuesday. 2 police officers. Sir, one of them said, we received a call about possible harassment from your property. Neighbor claims you've been filming him without consent. I froze. He actually did it. I let the officers in. I had nothing to hide. One of them, the younger one, seemed uncomfortable right away. The older guy did most of the talking. Your neighbor says you've been recording him with cameras pointed directly at his home, he said. That's a potential privacy issue. I walked over to my monitor and pulled up the footage. The camera faces my driveway, I said. The only reason he's in frame is because he walks over here. I showed them the videos, him tipping my cans, messing with the mailbox, walking over late at night. I could tell it caught them off guard. Especially the part where he deliberately looked at the camera. Have you submitted this anywhere? The older officer asked. Yes. HOA, last week. Haven't heard back. He nodded. Okay. Well, from what I'm seeing, there's no violation here. But we'll make a note. They left without pressing anything. But the fact that the guy had gone to the cops? That hit different. That wasn't just neighborhood tension anymore. He was trying to build a case. I got on the phone and called a lawyer. Not to sue, just to ask what my rights were. Turns out, Ohio law allows you to record your property and anyone who enters it, especially if it's for security. I was in the clear. But my lawyer said something I didn't expect. Just be careful, she told me. Guys like that, they push until they get a reaction. And if you so much as touch him or say the wrong thing, he'll flip the script. That's when I realized he wasn't going to stop until he got what he wanted. So, I changed my approach. I got a second camera, mounted it to face my garage and part of the sidewalk. I added a floodlight. I called the HOA and requested a mediation hearing. I sent them a full folder. Dates, clips, notes, the police visit, everything. And I waited. For a week, nothing happened. Then one night, around 2:30 a.m., my phone pinged. Motion detected. I checked the feed and couldn't believe it. He was out there again. Not just at my trash cans this time, he was standing at the side of my house, near the gas meter, looking around, wearing gloves. I called the police right then. They came fast. I stayed inside. Watched from the front room window as they talked to him under the streetlight. He said he was walking his dog. There was no dog. They didn't arrest him, but they gave him a warning and told him to stay off my property. I heard one of them say, "Next time it's trespassing." I thought that would be it, that finally he'd back off. But I was wrong. 3 days later, I got an email from the HOA. They were siding with him. Due to ongoing disputes between neighbors, we request that both parties remove any security equipment that may be considered invasive or disturbing to the community aesthetic. Just like that, all the evidence I had, they wanted it gone. And the guy next door? He was standing on his porch when I read the email. He raised his coffee cup like he was toasting me. That email from the HOA? It stayed open on my laptop for hours. They didn't say I had to take the cameras down, just that they strongly encouraged it. But the message was clear. They didn't want to deal with this. They wanted it to quietly go away, even if that meant turning a blind eye. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I printed the email and added it to my folder, the one labeled Neighbor Ongoing. By now, it had over 50 pages. Notes, screenshots, letters, recordings. I wasn't even sure what I was planning to do with it, but it felt better than doing nothing. Then came the next storm. Late February. Not as bad as the last one, but enough to lay down a few inches. That morning I stepped out to clear my driveway and saw him already outside, shoveling his own drive. He kept looking over at me. Not long stares, just quick glances. Like he was waiting for something, daring me to make eye contact. I didn't. I cleared my side, then went back inside. 10 minutes later, he was knocking at my door. I opened it just a crack. He stood there holding a printed photo. It was a blurry image of me, outside with my Snowblower from weeks ago. "Got something for you," he said, too calm. I didn't touch it. "What is this?" I asked. "Just a little reminder, in case things keep escalating." He didn't wait for a response. Just slid the photo into my mailbox and walked away. I didn't even know where he got it. Maybe he had his own camera set up now. Maybe he'd been filming me the whole time too. I felt my stomach twist. Not from fear. From the knowing. This wasn't going to stop on its own. That afternoon, I filed a public records request with the city. I wanted a copy of every police report filed in our neighborhood for the past 6 months. I wasn't sure what I'd find. I just needed to know if he'd done this to anyone else. A week later, I got a call. The city clerk, friendly voice, said, "You sure you only want 6 months?" "Why?" I asked. "Because this guy's been busy," she said. "We've got records going back 2 years. Multiple nuisance reports. At least 5 neighbors named him specifically." That's when something clicked. It wasn't just me. I asked if they could send me copies. She said yes. When the envelope arrived, I sat down at the kitchen table and read every page. Noise complaints. Vandalism accusations. Harassment through yard equipment. Yes, really. Always anonymous, but the descriptions matched him. The same patterns, same language. He'd done this to other people. Worn them down until they either moved, gave up, or disappeared from the HOA minutes. I looked out the window again. He was in his driveway, staring at his phone. He was playing a long game. But now I knew. I sat on those documents for a few days. Read through them again and again. Different names, same outcome. One guy got cited for unauthorized lawn furniture after a dispute. Another had his fence reported 3 times in 2 months. Same block. All of them lived near the same man. It wasn't just me. This was a pattern. He poked people until they snapped or gave up, and once they did, he buried them in complaints and technicalities. And the HOA? They went along with it because it was easier. So I made a decision. I printed copies of the reports and went door to door. I knocked on 7 houses. Spoke to 5 people directly. At first, I thought I was being paranoid. But by the 3rd conversation, I didn't have to say his name. They already knew who I was talking about. A woman across the street, Maria, said she stopped putting out Halloween decorations because he once threatened to report her for unauthorized lighting. A guy on the corner, Dan, said he moved his fire pit 3 times because of him. Every time, new complaint. He's been running the HOA through fear for years, Dan said. No one wants to deal with it. They just comply.
But now?
Now they had proof. Dates, times, official records. And someone, me, who wasn't willing to roll over. So I asked them straight up, would you come with me to the next HOA meeting? Most of them hesitated, but Maria nodded. Then Dan. Then one more neighbor. We had enough for a statement. Enough to show that it wasn't just a neighborly spat. It was a pattern of harassment. I prepared a full packet, copies of everything, labeled and dated. I rehearsed what I'd say. Not dramatic, not angry. Just the facts. The night of the meeting, we all showed up early. He was already there, sitting in the back like he always did, arms folded. He saw us walk in together. For the first time, he looked nervous. When they opened the floor for concerns, I stood up and handed the board copies of the folder. I spoke calmly. I didn't accuse, I just laid out the history, the pattern, the misuse of complaints, the surveillance, the intimidation. Then I stepped back. Maria spoke next. Then Dan. One by one, people told their stories. Quietly, steadily. No yelling. Just facts. The room was still. The HOA board looked shaken. No one defended him. Not even the ones who usually stayed quiet. Then he stood up. None of that proves anything, he said. This is just hearsay. People are exaggerating. Trying to paint me like a villain. The board president, a guy who usually avoided conflict, spoke up. We'll be reviewing everything submitted tonight. Until then, no more anonymous complaints. No more enforcement actions against any of these residents without full documentation. He stared at them like he couldn't believe it. Like the script had flipped and no one told him. We left together.
No celebración.
Just a quiet walk back home under streetlights. But I knew he wasn't done. That kind of person never thinks they've lost. They just wait. And I was waiting too. For a few weeks after the meeting, it got quiet. Too quiet. No new complaints. No letters. No police. Nothing from the HOA. He stopped coming outside as much. When I did see him, usually just pulling in or out of his driveway, he didn't look over. It felt like he was waiting for something. Or planning. Then one morning, I woke up to find scratches on the side of my truck. Deep ones. 3 long lines across the driver's door. Not random. Not accidental. Intentional. I checked the cameras. Of course, the one facing the driveway had gone out sometime during the night. Just static. No footage. I knew what he was doing. He was daring me to accuse him. Without proof, it was just my word. He'd figured out the system. What counted, what didn't. I filed a police report anyway. Not because I expected them to do anything, but because it mattered to have it on record. Then I filed a claim with insurance. Got the estimate. Sent in the photos. They asked if I wanted to press for vandalism. I said no. Because I realized something that night. He wasn't trying to win anymore. He just wanted me to give up. Move out. Walk away from this neighborhood. It wasn't about snowblowers or trash cans. It was about control. Silence. Making sure no one questioned him again. So, I did the one thing I hadn't done yet. I sent everything. To every neighbor. I wrote a simple letter. I didn't attack him. I just laid it all out. What happened, what he'd done to me and others, the police reports, the scratches, the HOA's history with him. Then I left my number. By the end of that week, I got 6 texts and 3 calls. I had no idea it was this bad. He reported us too. He told me once, "You don't want to be on my bad side." I thought it was a joke. People started talking. To each other. The silence he'd built for years cracked. Then someone no one would say who started a petition. To formally remove him from the HOA board. It spread fast. I didn't start it. I didn't even sign it at first. I just sat back and watched the fallout begin. He tried to push back, of course. Claimed defamation. Accused people of ganging up. Threatened to involve legal counsel. But this time, it didn't work. Because now everyone was watching. Including me. I still clear my own driveway. Still wake up early when it snows. But now I keep the cameras on, the folder updated, and the front door locked. Not because I'm scared, just because I finally understand what kind of person I was dealing with. And sometimes, when I'm out there alone in the cold, I wonder if he ever looks out his window and misses those mornings I shoveled his driveway. I doubt it, but I do.